week's drive, we go racing in the rain to crown a champion, aim for a record, but get beaten by Mother Nature and history. Take it to the limits and beyond, and bet on the wrong horse in Las Vegas. All this and more in this week's Drive. Laguna Seca was the venue for the 10th round of the A1 Grand Prix of Nations, but once again there was adverse weather conditions in the build-up to the race. The name means dry lake, but the track was anything but dry before practice. Temperatures were a bit below the norm for this time of year, and heavy rain had drenched the raceway, causing major problems for organisers. But most of the drivers were keen that everything should go ahead as planned.
I think we should drive, because here also in this track there drives MotoGP and bikes, and they can also drive here. Why we cannot drive with the cars? I mean,
the problem is
there are also circuits where you just have walls everywhere, like Durban, and here we have a lot of runoff areas, so I see no point not to drive.
So Brian Herter,
although it was cold, it stayed dry for the practice session. Brian Herter, racing for the host nation Team USA, managed the fastest time from only 12 laps, but there was no real surprise given his experience here. However, the result will be particularly important for the Americans, who have yet to really find consistent speed in A1, despite proving again and again that they have the pace and the quality to be competitive. Right behind him was 20-year-old Salvador Duran of Team Mexico. There was plenty of cloud above the snow-capped hills surrounding spectacular Laguna Seca Raceway the next day. But thankfully, torrential rain of the kind seen earlier in the week stayed away, meaning that qualifying went ahead as scheduled. After showing promise in Friday's practice, Team A1 USA endured a disappointing qualifying and claimed a disappointing 17th place on the grid for the shorter sprint race. In contrast, Team Australia acquitted themselves well, an impressive showing giving them the 5th fastest time. The team could do with some good results to offset a woeful season so far. The battle for the championship is a two-horse race between France and Switzerland, but behind them, competition is heating up for 3rd place. Malaysia put in their best-ever qualifying session, taking 4th place on the grid behind New Zealand. Switzerland's championship aspirations were dented when they could do no better than 16th, but arch-rival France claimed 2nd place on the front row. Star of the day, though, was Salvador Duran, who gave Team Mexico their first pole position of the series. Teams are allowed to switch drivers between qualifying and the sprint race, but they all decided to retain their qualifying drivers, and there were no driver changes. The rolling start sprint race would be over 80 kilometres and up to 30 minutes, run over 22 laps. The race determines the grid positions for the feature race, which has a standing start and would be run over 44 laps, or about 160 kilometres, and lasting up to an hour. Mexican Duran wasn't intimidated by the more experienced drivers behind him on the grid.
I'm feeling very good, first corner, being in front, and with a starting procedure like in the sprint race, so it's very good, very comfortable. But these guys, they have a lot of experience. I have a lot of respect for them, but I think now I can be maybe as quick as them and hopefully as consistent as them. So I will try to demonstrate it tomorrow in the race, and try to be smart and finish the race. It's not like Indonesia.
Salvador and New Zealander Matt Halliday would be hoping to be facing the other way and going a bit faster the next day. Despite the still present threat of unpleasant weather, fans at Laguna Seca in Northern California were treated to a spectacular day's racing. In the opening sprint race, visibility for anyone further back than the front 2 rows was appalling, and yet New Zealand's Halliday overtook France and then Mexico, slipping his car Black Beauty into the top spot. The rain eased as the safety car pulled in at the end of 3 laps, with Mexico leading the pack ahead of New Zealand, France, Malaysia, Portugal and Ireland. As Mexico increased their lead, France kept the pressure on New Zealand, and finally on lap 7, Lapierre took the chance, pushing the tricoloured car past the New Zealand Black Beauty. A1 Team Switzerland, with new driver Giorgio Mondini behind the wheel, fell victim to the corkscrew corner cutting both corners, damaging his nose cone and ensuring that the only team that could unseat France as overall champions finished outside of the points. So victory went to Team Mexico in A1 Grand Prix's first ever wet race. But France's second place, together with Switzerland's failure to score any points, meant that Team France were crowned as the first ever world champions of motorsport in the A1 Grand Prix of Nations.
We are Team France. Congratulations, A1's first world champions. How do you feel?
I feel great. I just think about everybody in the team because I'm here now, but, you know, it was really a team job. I think about Alex and all the team, really, all the mechanic, the engineer, Jean-Paul. Everybody has done really good job this season, and now I'm in front of the camera, but it was really a team job.
Fellow French driver Alexandre Premat, who has been just as successful as Lapierre, was on hand to pose for photographers before the feature race. Mexico then became the third team to win a double header over a Grand Prix of Nations weekend when Duran won the feature race too. The team gambled on using slick tyres on a track that still had some damp patches. It was France that got the best start, leading Mexico into turn one.